Thumbs up nga kung natapos niyo yung general senses. Nasimulan niyo yung general senses. Give me a thumbs up. Okay. Sige. No? So, ano ba yung general senses? It's essentially the sense of touch. No? Sense of touch, kasama na doon yung pain and temperature. So, we also use this lecture to discuss certain core concepts that apply to all senses. No? Kasama na dito yung mga terms na pinadefine dito sa first part of the formative activity. Okay? So, nandito yon sa attributes of sensation. So, the formative activity, so let's first look at modality. No, modality refers to the different kinds of sensations, the distinct categories of sensations. So, alin dito yon sa ating formative ito, no? So, the general categories of sensation, for example, touch, pain, vision, sound, no? Smell, taste, no? Those are the modalities of sensation. Okay? The modalities of sensation. And under each modality, you can have different qualities or parang subcategories of that modality. Okay? So, ito yun, no? Quality of sensation refers to a subcategory of sensation. For example, under the sense of touch, pwedeng light touch, pwedeng mas malalim, no, pressure. Sa vision, you see different colors, no? So the different colors, no, those are different qualities of the modality of vision. No? So under sound, you can have high pitch, low pitch sound, no? So those are different qualities of sound of the modality. Okay, and then another very important concept in sensation is the phenomenon of adaptation. Now, so this adaptation, this describes that our perception of a stimulus will decrease over time if the stimulus is constant. Now, we experience that every day. Common example is yung suot-suot mong damit. Diba? Because you wear it the whole day, you don't really notice the weight of your clothes, the texture of your clothes, no? So that is adaptation, or you get used to the stimuli. Ganun din pag magsiswimming ka, malamig yung tubig sa simula, but eventually masasanay ka dun sa lamig. No? So that's adaptation. As long as the stimulus is constant, over time, mababawasan yung ating perception of that stimulus. And then, another concept here is the affect. Okay, affect. So what is affect? It is a subjective response to the stimulus. No? So, in every stimulus you experience, ano siya, no? It's not dumadaan siya sa interpretation, no? Dadaan siya sa brain, sa cortex, sa higher centers of the brain, and then mabibigyan natin siya ng interpretation. Okay, and that is now related to the affect. So the certain sensations can give certain or elicit certain emotional responses from us. Pwedeng gusto natin yung sensation, pwedeng ayaw natin yung sensation. No? And that also ties to a certain another word that we can use when we're referring to how we interpret sensations. No, we can use the term perception. Okay, so when we just sense something, ano yun, parang objective yun, na sense natin, na detect natin yung stimulus. But when we perceive the stimulus, kasama na dun yung affect. no, yung subjective response. Perception, may interpretation na. Okay, so the same stimulus, we can react to it differently depending on the situation. Typical example na binibigay ko, kunyari may kumalabit sa'yo, nasa classroom ka, may kumalabit sa'yo. Isipin mo at baka yung classmate mo. Kung ito ngayon, mag-isa ka sa kwarto, tapos parang may kumalabit sa'yo. Iba ng response mo doon. Di ba? Okay, matatakot ka na because of the different scenario, different situation. No? Sige, any questions about some of the basic principles that we mentioned? May questions pa dito? So there are other attributes of sensation. No? So panoorin nyo na lang sa video. Tapos ano to? Ano na dito to? Panoorin nyo. Pang curious kayo, ba't merong blue and gray box dito? Tingnan nyo yan sa video mamaya. Okay? And there's another concept here, the receptive field. Okay, what is the receptive field? The receptive field is the part of the body from which a receptor or sensory unit receives stimuli. No? So each sense, no, each modality of sensation will have or will utilize their own receptors. No? And those receptors, they will receive stimuli from a certain area of the body. So each receptor has its own receptive field. Doon lang sila makakasagap ng stimuli. And each receptor or your receptors are connected to your nerves in what we call a sensory unit. Naalala niyo yung motor unit sa muscle? Pag-usapan natin sa muscle yung motor unit, which is you have one nerve fiber innervating multiple muscle fibers, di ba? Yun yung motor unit. So sensory unit naman, you have multiple receptors connected to a single nerve fiber. Okay? So yun yung sensory unit. Na parang isa siyang squad ng receptors, no? Okay? So and each sensory unit also has its own territory, no? Its own receptive field. Sige. So questions so far? Wala pa questions? Sige. And then still under basic principles of sensation, I believe na-discuss din yung local potential versus an action potential nung pinag-usapan yung nerve. No? A local or a generator potential versus an action potential. No? So i-apply natin ngayon sa senses. So what is so I believe the meron ding table showing the difference between the two, a receptor potential and an action potential. Meron din tayong graph, no? So the receptor potential is what's happening in the receptor pag na-stimulate siya. So if you stimulate a receptor, it will start to depolarize. When the stimulus is strong enough, doon pa lang siya magsisend ng action potential. Okay, and as we know from the action potential, all or none ito, di ba? And the action potential is what will propagate down your neuron, down your axon. Okay? But the receptor potential is a local potential. Doon lang siya sa receptor. No? So, di ba, the receptor is connected to your, in a sensory unit, is connected to the nerve, no? So you stimulate the receptor reaches threshold, meron ng kanang mag-generate na action potential, magda-travel na yun dun sa nerve in the that's in the sensory unit. Okay, so which characteristics apply to receptor potential? Ano nakita natin dito? Here we see what happens as the receptor is stimulated more strongly. No? Kita natin na tumataas siya. Tumataas yung receptor potential. And as we said, it's a local potential. No? It propagates along the axon. It does not propagate along the axon. That's the action potential. And it does not increase in frequency. Yun yung action potential. No? So nakita natin relationship ng dalawa. If the stimulus is stronger, the receptor potential increases. No? Pag tumaas yung receptor potential, ano nangyayari sa action potential? Yung action potential, the firing of the action potential becomes more frequent. Okay? Becomes more frequent. At ano yung and what type of summation is this one? Siyempre, itong action potential na to, pupunta yan somewhere, di ba? Mapapadala yan doon sa next na neuron down the line. Tapon paakit sa brain. No? So, anong effect ng increased number of action potentials, increased firing rate of action potentials dun sa neuron na kinakabitan ng iyong sensory nerve? Anong klaseng summation to? Anong klaseng summation to? You can type in the chat. Okay. Temporal summation. Huh? Temporal summation. So, the increase in stimulus strength will increase the amplitude of the receptor potential, will increase the firing rate of the action potentials, and that is the that will now cause temporal summation on the next neuron down the line. Okay? Sige. So may questions ba dito? The receptor versus the action potential? The generator potential versus the action potential? Questions ba? Wala naman. Okay. Okay. So now, still with the general principles on sensation, we have some principles: differential sensitivity, and then the labeled line principle. What does that mean? Okay. So what's the differential sensitivity principle? So we said that we have different receptors, diba? Different receptors for the senses. And we have these basic sensory receptor types: mechanoreceptor for mechanical stimuli, thermoreceptor for temperature, nociceptor for painful stimuli, electromagnetic receptors for light or photoreceptors, no? And chemoreceptors for the chemicals, for detecting chemicals. Alin kayang receptor ang gamit ng sense of hearing? Which receptor is used by the sense of hearing? Mechanical, no? Mechanoreceptor. Tama, no? Kasi vibration, di ba? Vibration ng sound eh. So that vibration will be detected. That vibration is a mechanical stimulus, no? Yung sense of taste and sense of smell, anong gamit niya? Chemical, no? Chemical. Kasi ano ba yung taste? You detect certain chemicals in food, na-detect mo yung sugar, yung salt, di ba? Ano yung smell, ganun din. Na-detect mo yung chemicals, volatile chemicals floating around in the air, no? Okay. So that ties in to the differential sensitivity principle. So we have different kinds of receptors, and those receptors are sensitive only to specific stimuli. Okay? So that stimuli that the stimuli that the receptor is sensitive to, we call that the receptor's adequate stimulus. Okay? So like, what is the adequate stimulus for A mechanoreceptor, it's mechanical stimuli. Okay, what's the adequate stimulus for a photoreceptor? It's light. Okay, so that's the differential sensitivity principle. Each receptor is sensitive only to specific stimuli. Okay, so let's tie that in here. So, alin yung differential sensitivity? So it says that receptors respond specifically to its adequate stimulus. Okay? Respond to its adequate stimulus. Ano naman yung labeled line principle? Okay, so the labeled line principle, so we said that the receptors, kanina, we said that the receptors are connected to the sensory unit, di ba? Meron siyang nerve fiber na kinakabitan. And that nerve fiber is connected to other nerve fibers all the way papunta sa brain. Okay, so meron siyang nerve pathway. No, we have a sensory pathway from your receptor to the brain. Okay, so those sensory pathways, dedicated yan to specific stimuli. I mean, specific senses. Okay, each of those sensory pathways, yung mga nerves under that specific sensory pathway, dedicated yan to a specific sense. Okay? That's why throughout these lectures, marami tayong pathway na papag-usapan. Iba-iba siya for each sense. Okay? We have a pathway for the light touch. We have a pathway for pain and temperature. We have a pathway for vision, a pathway for hearing, a pathway for smell, pathway for taste. Okay? So each sense, meron siyang dedicated na pathway of nerves from the receptor to the brain. Okay? Clear ba yon? So that's the labeled line principle. So, bakit labeled line? So imagine mo, parang merong line, no? Merong isang dire-diretsong line going from your receptor to the brain. Tapos yung line na yon merong label, may pangalan. Yung pangalan nakalagay, kunyari, ito, this is for touch. Yun lang. Okay? So, para lang talaga siya sa touch. Kahit papaano mo na-stimulate yung line na yun, yung mga nerves na yun sa pathway na yun, kahit papaano mo siya na-stimulate, it will always give you that specific sense. No? So, going back, you have a labeled line. You have this pathway for touch. So, you stimulated the receptor by touch. So, syempre, touch ang lalabas. Tinusok-tusok mo yung receptor na yon. Pero yung receptor na yun is for touch. Ha? Tinusok-tusok mo yung receptor. Touch pa rin ang ibibigay niya information. Kasi yun yung pathway niya. Yun yung line niya. Pisil-pisilin mo, durug-durugin mo, dagdagan lagyan mo ng ano chemical, yung receptor na yon. Touch pa rin ang sasabihin niya. Okay? Na? So, because of the labeled line. Clear ba yan? Clear ba yan? Okay. Na? So, saan yun dito? Ano pa yung pwede nating i-add? That's true for the differential sensitivity but not for the labeled line. So says that receptors are connected to a specific pathway. That is the labeled line principle. No? And which of these examples talk about differential sensitivity? Okay. So this is differential sensitivity. No? Light will easily stimulate a photoreceptor. Kasi nga, photoreceptor. So it's specialized for detecting light. But not mechanoreceptors. Ito naman, explains why physical trauma to the back of the head, binatukan ka, nauntog ka, no? Can result in seeing flashes of light. So that is more of the labeled line principle. Okay? Kasi nga, dedicated yung nerves na yun, your visual pathway is dedicated to giving you information about vision. So, kahit nauntog lang yun, yung pathway na yun, nauntog na stimulate tuloy siya, light pa rin yung ibibigay niya information. Okay? Okay, any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Ito sa dalawang principle, malinaw ba yon? Malinaw ba? Okay. There's another principle. Saan yan dito? This one related to the phenomenon of the receptor potential, no? So, di ba nakita niyo yung curve? Hindi naman siya linear. Okay? Hindi siya linear. So, that gives us another principle, the Weber-Fechner principle. Basically means that the more that it is harder to distinguish between um, gradations of stimuli, the stronger the baseline simulation is. No? So parang sensitive ka to weak stimuli, madali mo ma-detect yung weak stimulus. But it's now harder to differentiate between gradations of strong stimulus. Okay? Kasi as you see, the appearance of the curve, no? Dito parang you need larger jumps in stimulus strength bago mo maramdaman na nagbago yung stimulus. Okay? But we are sensitive to the weak stimulus. Okay? So, common example dito, ito, meron tayong example, if you're carrying a lot of coins, dagdagan ng isang coin, baka hindi mo naramdaman nagbago yung weight na. But if you're carrying only a few coins, dagdagan ng isang coin, maramdaman mo nagbago yung weight. Okay? So, pag mas mataas na yung level of stimulation, mas mahirap na i-distinguish yung gradations of that or changes in the stimulus strength. Okay, questions? Questions? Okay, paano? So if you have not yet watched the video, you can use this synchronous session. Sorry, hindi pala ako. I think I should start recording. Hindi pala ako nag-record. Sorry.
Recording in progress.
Okay, na. So if you have not yet watched the video, I hope this session can help you maybe figure out what I think is important, no? Or sana ma-refresh yung mga principles. And marami din tayo marami tayong nadi-discuss din sa video na hindi na natin matadaanan here in the synchronous session. Okay. So the next question in the formative activity talks about summation. Okay, summation. So we already mentioned yung temporal summation kanina. Huh? So baka masagot na natin yung question na to. Okay, so which characteristics apply to temporal summation? So temporal summation, does it occur even in an individual receptor or nerve? Totoo ba yun? Yes, no? Kasi nga yung example natin kanina, di ba? Example natin kanina is receptor potential, no? So that's an individual receptor. Okay? So we see temporal summation exhibited by the individual receptor or sensory unit, no? And then, is it due to the effect of increased stimulus strength on action potential frequency? Yes, diba? Yun yung nakita natin kanina, that if you increase the stimulus strength, the action potential frequency increases, no? Mas mabilis yung firing rate. So, ang spatial summation naman, spatial would involve simultaneous activation of multiple sensory units. Okay? Simultaneous activation of multiple sensory units. So, saan yung illustration natin dito? Ito ba yun? Yan, no? Multiple sensory units. Okay, so this one, due to the tendency of stronger stimuli to affect more sensory units, that's spatial summation. Ito, simultaneous stimulation of multiple receptor sensory units. Again, that is spatial summation. So here's an example of spatial summation. Meron kang weak stimulus, it maybe affects only one or a few sensory units, but a stronger stimulus would tend to affect more sensory units, so that can be interpreted by the brain as a stronger stimulus. Okay. So any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Okay. No, so far everything we've been talking about applies to all the senses, no, not just general senses. Lahat ng senses, merong adaptation, meron kang receptor, merong generator potential leading to an action potential. All of them will exhibit either temporal or and spatial summation. No? So, yung mga principles, differential sensitivity, labeled line, no, it applies to all senses. And then after this, ito na yung specific to the general senses. No? The general senses. I think we have a figure review related to this. So maybe we can start with that. Stop share muna ako. Okay, ready na ba for the figure review?
Doc, ako po yung mag-share screen po. Wait lang.
Mauna yata si Magat.
Opo, yes po. Ako po yung mag-share screen po for Magat
Ikaw
po.
mag-share screen. Okay.
Apo.
Hello po, good morning. Good morning po, Doc. Good day. Today we are reviewing this figure which illustrate the different function differences between type 1 and type 2 sensory units in the skin. In here, you can see in type 1, first we have to look for type 1. On the left, the graph notice a U-shaped threshold curve. It has a very narrow base, meaning the stimulus trigger a response within a very small distance, approximately 2 to 3 millimeter. The steep walls are indicated a sharp drop of insensitivity outside in the zone. On the hand diagram, you can see the receptive field is represented by a small localized dot. These fields have well-defined borders allowing for a high spatial resolution associated with the mechanoreceptors. These fields are associated with Meissner's corpuscles and Merkel cells. In the type 2 naman, we have a large and diffuse space naman dun. It has a larger, more distance naman. The threshold curve have its broader and shallower. The fiber is sensitive to the stimuli as much as a larger distance, nearly the entire width of the finger. As shown on the hand, the receptive field covered the large area. These fields are obscure or ill-defined borders. Where they are very sensitive, they lack the point-to-point precision of a type 2-1 units. It is associated with mechanoreceptors, with Pacinian corpuscles and Ruffini endings. These receptors are located deeper in the dermis or subcutaneous tissue, allowing to detect broad changes like tissue stretch or high frequency vibration that vibrates across the larger area of the skin. In the conclusion, type 1 provides us a tactile precision due to their small defined fields. Type 2 provide the wide area of sensitivity due to the larger diffuse receptive fields. Together, they allow the somatosensory system to process both the fine texture and the global movement of the object against our skin.
Okay. Sige, any questions? From the faculty, any questions? Okay.
Ano lang, sorry.
Sige, sige.
Sige, can you summarize nga yung ano, what you have read? Ano lang, very simple lang. Mga 1 to 2 sentences. Can you summarize it? Kung what this figure is all about? In your own words.
Nakamute ka ba?
Bali, at good morning po, Doc. Bali po dun sa, in my own words po, Doc. Bali yung first figure, yung type 1 po natin, small receptive fields lang siya. Kumbaga palang precise lang po, used for touching or identifying sa texture po. Tapos precise po yung detection po nung sa space po nung type 1. Tapos mas narrower po yung ano niya po, Doc. Mas narrower po yung sa graph niya po. Tapos sa type 2 po, large po siya. Tapos mas large po yung sa graph niya. Tapos mas larger po yung sensory nung sa may type 2 po.
Wait lang. Ah, what do these graphs mean muna? Before you explain yung relationship. Ano yung pinapakita nito? Nung two graphs.
Yung size po nung receptive field po, Doc.
Yun lang ba? Di ba, when doing figure reviews, we always ask you to identify what the X and Y axis would mean. So, dyan you have what?
Yung ano po, Doc. Yung accuracy po, Doc.
So, nakamute pala. Accuracy? May accuracy ba dito?
Yung sa type 1 po, kumbaga parang napipinpoint niya po. Yung sa type 2 po, mas large, mas buo po kasi yung napaperceive niya, Doc. Mas
Eh,
maliit po yung isa.
Hindi, before that, ano muna yung mga variables na we are looking at dun sa graph? Ano yung ibig sabihin nila? Ayun, naka-label na, di ba? So, ano yung magiging implication nun?
Yung yung distance po nung ano, Doc, yung travel nung doon sa type 1 tsaka type 2, Doc.
So, ano ibig sabihin ng distance dun sa graph?
Yung threshold po, Doc.
Hindi, distance yung sabi mo eh. So, ano yung ibig sabihin nun ng distance?
Bali yung sa type 1, Doc, mas maliit po yung distance na kailangan niya. Tapos yung sa type 2 po, mas mahaba po. Mas long po yung distance niya, Doc.
Hmm, parang iba yung sinasabi. Sige, ikaw na nga, Dr. Chua.
Sige, so ano ba yung distance na yan? Up.
Kung ano po, kung gaano po kalayo yung stimulus dun sa center of the receptive field po.
Okay. So for the type 1 fiber na ang nakita natin, hindi ko ma-annotate, ano? Na-annotate nyo ba? So kung yung center nung sige, so if you look at the label or yung caption ng figure, di ba? Sinabi doon ko ano yung distance. So sabi doon sa second sentence ng ma-allow ba yung annotation? Para mas madali natin ma-point out. So, di ba, sabi nyo sa caption sa baba, ano ba yung question? Kailangan ba i-stop share mo na?
Ay, sige po. Doc, wait lang po. Doc, patry nga po. Okay na po ba?
Parang, parang wala. Okay, anyway, baka something kaya sa iPad or anyway. Sige.
Yes, sir.
So ako na mag-share, Joseph.
Paano ba sharing? Sige. Yan. Okay. No? So, ayan, nandito sa ayan, sentence, no? Function of the distance across the receptive field. No? So, yun yung distance na sinasabi dyan. Distance across the receptive field. Ano ulit yung receptive field? Sige, Charles. Ano ulit yung receptive field? Nakamit ka. Yung
Ito
receptive
po.
field, what do
Narinig
we
niyo na
mean?
po, Doc.
What do we mean by receptive field?
Ano po, Doc?
Boy! Sorry po.
Sige, ano yung receptive field?
Receptive field, yung bali yun yung distance, Doc, nung stimuli from the center nung
Hindi, receptive field ang receptive field. What do we mean by receptive field?
bali yung specific area po nung ano, Doc, nung stimulus.
Specific area from which a receptor can receive stimulus.
Yes po, Doc.
In other words, yun yung territory nung receptor.
Opo, Doc.
Okay? Clear ba yun? Yun yung territory ng receptor. Doon lang siya makakuha ng stimulus. So we're comparing the receptive field sizes of the two.
Opo.
So kunyari, so you have this and this distance, tapos nag-apply si yung scientist ng stimulus dito, may response ba? Okay,
Wala
type
po.
1 receptive field, wala. Nag-apply siya ng stimulus dito, may response?
Wala pa rin po, Doc.
Dito, apply siyang stimulus. May response?
Meron na po, Doc.
Meron na. Kasi,
Nakapasok na po siya dun sa threshold niya po, sa distance po nung ano niya, Doc.
nakapasok na dun sa receptive field.
Opo.
Threshold is just the minimum amount of strength you need to elicit the stimulus. No?
Yes po.
Hindi siya receptive field. Threshold is yung gaano kalakas na force kailangan mo para umabot dun sa action potential, di ba? Okay, so mababa yung threshold dito. So any amount of stimulus, magka-fire na siya. Okay? Paano kung dito mo in-apply dito? What does this mean? Na itong may very steep pa siya.
Mapapasok pa din po siya, Doc, kasi sensitive po siya dyan, Doc.
Papasok, pero
Mahina na po siya, Doc.
what does this mean? Na itong very steep na yung walls niya. What does that mean? Ano ibig sabihin ng walls na to?
Bali, yun yung pong ano,
Yan.
Doc. It indicates a sharp drop of sensitivity outside the zone po, Doc.
Oo nga. So if I simulate here, anong implication nun? If I try to apply a stimulus here?
Mahina na po yung ano niya, Doc, kasi
Ganun ba
palabas
yun?
na po siya ng ano.
Action potential, di ba? On or off lang yan, di ba?
Opo.
So if I apply a stimulus here, dito. Anong difference nun if I apply a stimulus here?
Same lang po, Doc.
Anong ibig sabihin nitong mataas na ano to? Wala lang kung same lang yung effect niya. Ibig sabihin, mataas yung threshold dito. Ano ibig
Opo.
sabihin nun? Pag mataas yung threshold,
Mataas din po yung ano, Doc, yung pressure na kailangan.
mataas yung pressure na kailangan. Malakas dapat yung stimulus
Opo.
bago siya mag-respond. Gets?
Opo.
Okay. Malakas dapat yung stimulus bago siya mag-respond. So kung dun sa gitna, konting kiliti lang, dito sa gitna, konting kiliti lang, pa-fire na yung receptor.
Opo.
Dito, pag nandun ka na sa edges ng kanyang receptive field, ano siguro kailangan mo?
Push na po to, ano na po.
Okay.
Press na po ganun.
Press, okay. Baka kailangan pisil-pisilin mo na yung receptor bago siya mag-respond, no?
Opo.
Okay. As compared to here, ano nakita nating difference?
Mas wide po yung dyan, tas mababa po yung threshold na po.
Okay. So, kung kiniliti ko tong part na to, magre-respond siya. Ito, dito.
Opo.
Konting kiliti dyan, magre-respond siya.
Magpa-fire po siya, Doc.
Magpa-fire siya kasi ano masabi
Mababa
na
lang.
sa threshold?
Mababa lang po yung threshold na, Doc.
Mababa yung threshold. Okay. No? So, pwede ba tayong mabuhay na puro ganito lang yung ano natin? Hindi ba mas maganda yan, no? Mababa lang yung threshold. Hindi ba mas maganda yan? Na puro ganitong type 2 yung mga receptor natin. Ano yung advantage ng type 1 na wala sa type 2?
Yung type 1 po, Doc, mas specific po yung sa kanya. Yung type 2 is much wider po siya. Kumbaga, mararamdaman niyo po siya ng wide sa skin po.
Okay, so advantage ng type 1, mas specific siya, no? Yan yung nakita natin sa illustration. Diba?
Opo.
Mas specific siya. So, mapipinpoint mo kung saan talaga yung stimulus. Okay? Sige. Okay. Sige, balik na tayo sa lecture.
Thank you so much po, Doc.
Okay. Sige. Okay, kunin ko lang ulit yung PowerPoints. Okay. Okay. Now, so with that, we saw that we have different kinds of tactile receptors and different din yung kanilang receptive field. So we have tactile receptors na malaki yung receptive field, but they are sensitive throughout that entire receptive field, no? So they can receive stimuli from a large area. And we also have tactile receptors na very pinpoint yung kanilang receptive field. Maliit lang, and it allows for more precision. Okay, so we distinguished, no? So we have, so going back to the formative activity, so we have 4 special or specialized tactile receptors and 2 na mas simple. Okay, so the free nerve ending, the hair end organ receptors, they're simpler. Okay, ito sila. Yan, very simple. So free nerve endings are the simplest. So free nerve endings basically just means na ano lang sila, parang exposed nerve lang siya. Okay, wala siyang specialized structure. Parang exposed nerve lang, no? And we see that the simplest ones also use the slowest nerves, okay? So if you remember type C, ito yung unmyelinated, no? So syempre siya yung pinakamabagal. And type A delta is still myelinated, pero siya yung pinakamaliit ng diameter. So mas mabagal din siya compared to the other myelinated nerves. Okay, so let's look at the matching type. Specialized, fast adapting, large receptive field. So itong 4 yung specialized. Okay, specialized, low adapting, small receptive field. Paano matatandaan? Ano yung fast adapting? Ano yung may large receptive field? So meron akong mnemonic. Okay, ang mnemonic natin. Okay, mnemonic natin. Meissner, Merkel, maliit, mababaw. Okay, puro M, di ba? Meissner, Merkel, maliit, mababaw. And you see that from the illustration. Okay, the receptors are smaller compared to the other ones. And they're shallow. Okay? So Meissner, Merkel, maliit, mababaw. They're small, so the receptive fields are small, and they're found shallower, no, close to the surface of the skin. So also, which also means na mas shallow din yung receptive, mas maliit din yung receptive field nila. Okay? So Meissner, Merkel, maliit, mababaw. Paano naman yung how do you know which one is slow adapting? Okay? Which one is slow adapting? Ano yun? Ang mnemonic natin is alphabetical order. Okay? Alphabetical order. So Meissner versus Merkel, no, sila yung dalawang maliit at mababaw, no? So Meissner versus Merkel, sino yung nahuli sa alphabet? Si Merkel, no? So, siya yung slow. slow adapting. Okay? Pasinian versus Ruffini, ito yung dalawang malalim. Pasinian versus Ruffini, sino sa kanila yung slow adapting? Ruffini, no? Siya yung nahuli sa alphabet. Okay? Yeah. So let's answer this one. So fast adapting, large receptive field. So yung large receptive field, hindi yan si Meissner-Merkel, no? Magpilian mo lang si Pasinian tsaka Ruffini. Fast adapting, sino nauna sa alphabet? Si Pasinian. Okay? So slow adapting and small. So small na specialize, itong dalawang M, maliit mababaw. Sino slow adapting? So sino nahuli sa alphabet? Si Merkel. Rapidly adapting receptor found in hairy skin. So sino to? It's in hairy skin. So these specialized receptors, typically you'll find this in hairless skin. Ano yung hairless skin? Like the palms or the soles of the feet. Kasi yun din yung more sensitive, di ba? Pag hairy skin, rapidly adapting, it probably is referring to the hair and organ receptors. So specialized, slow adapting, and large receptive field. Pasinian and Ruffini lang yan. Slow adapting, alphabetical order R. So Ruffini. Fast adapting and small. So that is your Meissner. Okay, fast adapting and small. That's your Meissner. And the simplest type of receptor innervated by slow nerve fibers, that is your free nerve ending. Okay. May questions ba dito? Questions? Walang questions? Okay. So, the ones that are fast adapting, sila din yung specialized for detecting vibrations. Vibrations. At syempre, ano ba ang vibration? Vibration, mabilis na mechanical stimuli. Di ba? Mabilis ang frequency ng mechanical stimuli. So, you need something to be fast adapting para ma-detect niya yun. Ma-detect niya yung differences between those very fast mechanical stimuli. Okay? Ma-distinguish niya yung individual beats ng vibration. No? So, your Meissner and your Pasinian. Okay, may questions about the specialized mechanoreceptors? Questions? No questions? Okay, and then as we mentioned, every sensation, every modality of sensation, may dadaanan siyang dedicated na pathway, no? Diba labeled line principle nga. May dadaanan siyang dedicated sensory pathway going up to the brain, and so for your general senses, we utilize two. No, the dorsal column, medial lemniscal system, and the anterolateral system. Okay? Dorsal column, medial lemniscal system, and the anterolateral system. Si dorsal column, mabilis and very complex yung interpretation niya. While your anterolateral system, also known as the spinothalamic pathway, it's more crude. It's more crude and more primitive. Okay, so fine touch, fine pressure. What do we mean by fine touch? Yan yung touch na madali mong, precisely mong malolocalize. No? That is fine touch. And kahit na light sensations lang ma-detect mo. Okay, that's fine touch. Versus crude touch. Crude touch, it's something that would require more, a stronger sensation bago ma-detect, and also it's something that's harder to localize, no? When we say crude touch, alam mong merong kumalabit sa'yo pero hindi mo masyadong ma-localize kung saan. Okay, that's crude touch. And very important to know is where they decussate. Okay, where they decussate. So dorsal column, Yung sensations from your peripheral, aakyat muna sa spine before they cross to the other side and go to the cortex. Anterolateral system, so from your periphery, pupunta yung signal sa spine, magpo-cross na siya agad, and then it goes up. Okay? So, it's important to remember kung saan nagde-decussate yung mga pathway. Okay? So, it's important in diagnosing and localizing lesions. No? Dapat alam mo saan sila nagko-cross. If you know where it crosses, where it decussates, it will help you identify and predict kung saan yung problema kapag nagkaroon ka ng lesions along the nervous system. Sige, we have actually an example din dito sa ating lecture about spinal cord lesion causing having a different manifestation dun sa left side versus sa right side ng patient because of the differences in the level of decussation. Okay? So, panoorin nyo na lang yung video for more details on that. But let's go to the formative activity. So, vibration sense proprioception. Vibration sense requires specialized mechanoreceptors. Sabi natin, di ba, kailangan yung fast acting, fast adapting. No? And proprioception, complex din yan. And this requires very fast information para alam mo precisely nasan yung mga muscles mo, yung joints mo, di ba? So that requires the higher processing of the dorsal column system. Poorly localized, no? Sabi natin, anterolateral system is more crude. So, yun. Pain and temperature, also anterolateral system. Decussates at the medulla, mataas ang decussation ng dorsal column. Crude touch, anterolateral system. Fast fibers, dorsal column. Decussates at the spinal cord, anterolateral system. For light touch, fine touch, that is your dorsal column. And then this one, third order neurons all terminate at the somatosensory cortex. That's also your dorsal column kasi as we mentioned, the dorsal column involves more higher processing of the signals. Higher processing of the signals. So the fibers need to go to the somatosensory cortex for interpretation. And then 2-point discrimination is also for your dorsal column system. No? Kasi nga, fine touch, di ba? Fine touch or precisely localized sensations. No? What we mean by 2-point discrimination, we are able to, it's the ability to identify 2 points that are close together. No? We are able to distinguish between 2 points that are close together. Okay, that's your 2-point discrimination. No? And that's something that you can test in the clinics to see if the dorsal column system is intact. No, the 2-point discrimination. Meron tayong illustration dito. Yeah, no? 2-point discrimination. So you test it with parang yung sa compass, no? Yung pinag-drawing natin ng circle. You test it, you see how close together the 2 points or how far the 2 points can be before the patient is able to recognize them at 2 points. No? So if we're checking the fingertips, the 2 points can be distinguished even if they are very close together. No? 2 millimeters, 3 millimeters, kaya nang i-distinguish ng brain na 2 points na yun. No? Even though they're just like 3 millimeters apart. But if that is impaired, even in the fingertip, no? Kunyari, ganito na yung 2 points. Tsaka pa lang nasabi ni patient, okay, 2 points yan. No? So, mayroong impairment somewhere in the dorsal column. Okay? Sige, any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Marami pang na-discuss dito sa lecture. So please, again, please do watch the video Na-discuss pa what happens in the somatosensory cortex, no? Ano ba yung kaya niyang i-interpret? Anong kaya interpret ng somatosensory cortex? And also very important, ano naman yung role ng association cortex, no? Somatosensory association. Anong difference niya from just the plain somatosensory cortex, no? So something else happens sa association area, even higher processing of meaning. And then very important yung phenomenon of the lateral inhibition, no? Lateral inhibition. Kapag magkatabi yung stimulus or it stimulates like overlapping receptive fields, because of the phenomenon of lateral inhibition, kaya pa rin i-localize ng brain yung stimuli, no? So, yeah, marami pang mga concepts dito that you could get if you watch the video. Okay. Any questions? Any questions? Okay pa? Okay pa tayo? Sige. So let's now go to pain and temperature. Stop share ko lang sandali as I load the other PowerPoint. Okay, pain and temperature. So these are also part of the general senses, and they're the sensations that pass through the anterolateral pathway, also known as the spinothalamic pathway. Okay. We go to preview. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So focusing on pain. On pain, anong special sa pain? So we mentioned that that your sensations, di ba, they adapt, no? Sensations adapt. So as if the stimulus is constant, over time, magre-reduce na yung perception mo of that stimulus, no? But what's special about pain is that it can be, or that it is non-adapting, no? The pain sense is non-adapting. Diba? I'm sure we've all experienced that. We've experienced that na say meron kang there's an injury na hindi mo pinansin. There's an injury na hindi mo pinansin. Kukulitin ka nung pain na yun eh. Di ba? Or like, if you feel an itch somewhere, parang nangangati ka somewhere, eh baka formal occasion, ayaw mong magkakamot-kamot na. Kukulitin ka nung itch, di ba? Nag-i-increase yung sensation until pansinin mo siya. No? So your pain sensation is unique in that way. It is non-adapting. It is non-adapting. However, there are ways for the brain to suppress the pain sensation. So it's different from yung phenomenon of adaptation na nangyayari in other receptors. No? So we have two types of pain, fast pain and slow pain. We've all experienced this as well, di ba? Say again, you get an injury. Initially, you example nito. Say meron kang naapakan na something sharp. Okay? Inaapakan ka something sharp. So immediately you feel na merong tumusok sa'yo. No? And you know exactly where it is. So syempre, angat mo yung paa mo and then you check for injury. So pag meron kang sugat doon, kahit wala na yung stimulus, wala na yung naapakan mong matalas, but there is this lingering pain in that area. Okay, so that is the slow pain. That is the slow pain. So when we have patients who are suffering from pain, they are suffering from slow pain. No, yan yung hindi ka papatulogin, no, nung slow pain, especially if it's intense. Okay, so that ties to the two pathways of pain. No? So we mentioned that pain goes through the anterolateral pathway, but we can further, or spinothalamic pathway, but we can further subdivide that into the neospinothalamic and the paliospinothalamic pathway. So the neospinothalamic pathway, yan yung fast pain, it goes to the cortex and it's precisely localized. The paliospinothalamic pathway, ito yung slow pain, so it's vague, harder to localize, and it causes the suffering kind of pain. Okay, so let's go through this matching type. Transmits pain sensations caused by chemical stimuli. So there are three ways to simulate your pain receptor, your nociceptor. You can have mechanical stimulus, thermal, or chemical stimulus. No? Mechanical stimulus means parang physical injury. Itong examples, no? Cutting, penetrating, or crushing. Thermal, extremes in temperature will trigger pain. Then chemical, yan yung chemicals released maybe by injured tissue, okay, or typically by injured tissue, and they will trigger the pain sensation. Okay, so transmits pain sensations caused by chemical stimuli. We see that chemical stimuli is for slow pain, no? Is for slow pain. So that is paliospinothalamic. Responsible for fast pain, the neospinothalamic. Terminates at the thalamus. That's the paliospinothalamic. So we see that sa illustration ko dito. Yan, no? So we see from this illustration, fast pain fibers aakit pa sa somatosensory area again because they are that is why they are better localized, no? But your slow pain fibers hanggang thalamus lang. Okay? Mostly hanggang thalamus lang siya. That's why it's also poorly localized. So precisely localized in spinothalamic, again, because it goes to the cortex. Decusates at the level of the spinal cord. Remember, they are both part of the spinothalamic pathway, which decusates at the level of the spinal cord. Okay, any questions about fast and slow pain? About fast and slow pain. Any questions? Any questions? Okay. So for pain, now the chemical stimulus for pain, we see that there are also some substances that by themselves they do not cause pain, but what they do is they increase the sensitivity for pain. Okay, they increase the receptor sensitivity for pain, and that's why ano nga, diba, it can be the pain is non-adapting it, and it can actually increase over time if you don't address the source of the pain because of those sensitivity enhancers. Okay. Sige, may questions? Questions dito? Kung wala, we have another figure review related to the analgesia pathway. Ready na ba?
Good morning po, Doc. Yes po.
Sige.
Share lang po ako screen. Kita. Start na po ako, Doc.
Okay?
Okay. Okay, so good morning everyone. I am Josel Ambipengson, and today I will be presenting my figure review about the endogenous analgesia system. So as you can see in the picture, meron tayong 3 figures. So first one will be about the ascending nociceptive pathway with its accompanying descending analgesic pathway. So pareho silang nagtravel along the central nervous system. And then meron tayong 3 components of the descending analgesic pathway. So ano yun? Meron tayong parang slices siya ng spinal cord up to the midbrain with the light colored part as the white matter and then the darker colored part as the gray matter. So the first slice here represents the periaqueductal gray, or it is also found in your midbrain, or also called as your mesencephalon. And then the second slice here represents the rostral ventromedial medulla found in your medulla. And then the last component will be the dorsal horn of the spinal cord, which is also the main pain inhibitory complex. Okay? So ngayon naman, yung 2 figures to the right, ito, it shows the mechanism of the lateral inhibition and the parallel inhibition excitation. So without further ado, let's start with the ascending nociceptive pathway. Okay, so kunwari, let's say meron kang pain stimulus. Like for example, meron kang pain na na-experience. Like, halimbawa, yung naglalakad ka tapos bigla kang tumama dun sa paa ng table. So ayun, yung pain na yun, magsasend siya ng or matitrigger niya yung nociceptors. Yung nociceptors natin, these are your specialized type of sensory unit that detects your potentially damaging stimuli or noxious stimulus, ganun. So yun nga yung pain. Bali, ang gagawin niya is i-activate niya yung first order sensory neuron located in the dorsal root ganglion. Yan. Tapos, yung first order neuron natin is located in the gray matter, which is yung area kung saan nare-receive and napaprocess ng dorsal horn yung sensory input. Ngayon, dun sa dorsal horn natin, or dito. Okay, specifically dyan, nandun yung first order neuron natin and magsasynapse siya with your second order neuron. So, yung second order neuron natin is, ayan, connected nga silang dalawa, yung first order siya yung second order. And then, yung second order neuron is magde-decossate siya or magko-crossover siya to the other side of the spinal cord. Tapos makikita niyo specifically, nandito siya ngayon sa white matter. So we have to remember na itong white matter na to, specifically dun sa anterolateral white matter, this area now will contain your spinothalamic tract or spinothalamic tract. So it is responsible for your cruder sensations nga as mentioned before, such as yung pain, pressure, and temperature. Ayan. So ito yung pathway na na-mention dun sa lecture na marami siyang parang stopover. Or hindi siya stopover, para siyang marami siyang pwedeng pagligawan or marami siyang pwedeng magkaroon ng collateral branches. And yung mnemonic dito is yung dirt road. Okay? So ngayon, yung second order neuron natin, ayan, ito siya. Ito pa rin siya. Mag-a-ascend siya ngayon dito sa thalamus. Pero, di ba, sabi nga natin, pwede siyang mag-branch out. So, yung ascending nociceptive fibers natin, they can give off collaterals at the level of the mesencephalon and at the level of the medulla. So, kapag sa mesencephalon or sa midbrain, specifically sa periaqueductal gray, kung saan patatawagin na siyang spinomesencephalic tract. Tapos, kapag naman sa medulla siya nag-branch out, tatawagin na siyang specifically dun sa tawag dito, dun sa reticular formation which contains your RVM, it will now be called your spinoreticulaire tract. So, ayun. Bale, mag-focus muna tayo dun sa mismong spinothalamic tract. Bale, yung ibang signals, dediretso siya ngayon dito sa thalamus. So, and some, but not all, will continue to the higher centers para mas ma-process pa siya. Ngayon, ano yung role ng thalamus? Yung thalamus, in this context, it functions for mainly pain and temperature discrimination. Parang kumbaga siya yung pinaka sorting center ng info. So, ang gagawin niya is i-relay niya, process niya yung info, tapos pwede niyang i-send yung nociceptive information dun sa higher centers such as yung cortical regions para for conscious perception and localization. Basically, dito talaga sa higher centers na perceive yung pain. So, that is your ascending nociceptive pathway. Now, we can proceed to your descending analgesic pathway, which is mako-consider natin siya as yung response for the nociceptive stimulus. Ngayon, from the higher centers, magsasend sila ngayon ng signals to your PAG. So, dito magsastart yung descending analgesic pathway. Ang important note dito is yung limbic system and yung cortex, pwede nilang i-activate tong PAG. Like for example, meron tayong na-experience na fear, na stress, or meron tayong naisip na placebo. So it depends, no? So ano muna yung PAG natin? Periaqueductal gray. Basically, it means that it is located in the gray matter, gray matter that surrounds the cerebral aqueduct located between the third and fourth ventricles. So naka-function siya as primary control center for pain modulation. Ngayon, yung fibers dito sa PAG natin is magpo-project siya or magde-descend into your medulla. Specifically into the nucleus raphe magnus, nakalagay siya sa lecture, and then your adjacent reticular nuclei, which is collectively called as your rostral ventromedial medulla. Ngayon, ito na ngayon yung pinaka major relay center. So yung neurons na manggagaling dito, they are primarily serotonergic. Ibig sabihin, nagre-release sila ng serotonin. Ngayon, yung nerve fibers ba, ayan, ito yung nerve fibers niya. Magko-connect siya dito sa dorsal horn of this spinal cord, specifically sa area ng substantia gelatinosa, kung saan connected din yung primary pain fibers natin. So, kita naman natin dito. Ito yun, dito tayo nag-start kanina. Ayan. So, yung role ng substantia gelatinosa is nag-act siya as parang gate, which modulates the pain sensations bago pa niya marating yung brain. So again, dito talaga nangyayari yung pinaka main pain inhibition. And there will be inhibitory interneuron seal that will inhibitory interneuron seal sa area na to na magre-receive ng signals from your medulla and through your serotonergic interneurons. Tapos yung pag-release ng serotonin, this will cause the local cord neurons to secrete your endogenous opioids, which are now your enkephalins, your dynorphins, endorphins, ayun. So each of them has their own specific opioid receptors where they can bind to. Tapos ngayon, pagka nag-bind na yung opioid dun sa receptors nila, they can couple with your inhibitory proteins, and then this will cause a cascade of physiologic events na i-close niya yung calcium channels and then i-open niya yung potassium channels. And this will lead to your cell hyperpolarization. Kaya ngayon, effectively, nasusuppress yung nerve activity. In short, mapipigilan na yung pag-send ng, mapipigilan na yung neuron or pain neurons from sending signals upwards into your spinothalamic. So, ayun, we have to remember din na another effect of this is that some reflexes may also be inhibited. Ayun, so tapos na tayo sa figure na to. We can now proceed to your next two figures. So, dito sa dalawang figure na to, gagamitin natin yung legend dito sa baba. So, meron tayong green for your inhibitory or GABAergic neurons. Meron tayong red color for your excitatory or glutamatergic neurons. And then, meron tayong color blue for inhibitory or excitatory neurons. Ngayon, focus tayo sa lateral inhibition. Diba? Kanina na-mention siya, for context, it is also called your surround inhibition. Ang purpose niya is to sharpen or localize the sensation of pain. So here, dito sa PAG natin, meron tayong inhibitory or GABAergic neurons. And then, sila ay tonically active. Tonically active means meron siyang consistent baseline level of firing rate ng inhibitory input para hindi ma-oversaturate yung neurons doon. So, ang role nun is ma-sharpen niya or ma-localize niya yung information that is processed. So, para mas maintindihan natin, bigyan ko ng example. Sige, siguro, let's say nakatapa ka ng Lego. Tapos, pag nakatapa ka ng Lego, yung most strongly stimulated second order neuron na nagko-correspond exactly to the site of injury will become activated. And then at the same time, it will activate your inhibitory interneurons through your collateral branches. And then now, etong GABAergic neuron na to is, ayun nga, ma-activate din siya. And para mas ma-localize yung pain, i-inhibit niya yung adjacent neuron, which in this case is an excitatory or glutamatergic neuron, which will now project into your medulla. And then, as you can see here, magba-branch out siya into another GABAergic neuron located in your RVM naman, which again will regulate the localization of pain signals to the target neuron, para hindi siya kumalat laterally. Ayun. So, ang purpose ng lateral inhibition mechanism is to pinpoint the source of pain signals in a way na ma-enhance ng central nervous system yung contrast between the central pain signal and the surrounding weaker signals. Bali, instead of feeling mo somewhere lang sa paa mo yung nasaktan or buong paa mo yung nakakaranas ng pain, you can tell or you can specifically tell na yung sakong mo or yung heel, yung part na nakatapak ng Lego. Ayun. So next is your parallel inhibition excitation. So here makikita natin na both yung inhibitory and your excitatory, yung magbibigay ng branches to your target neurons. So it indicates na pareho silang nag-work or nagpo-function to modulate the effects of each other. So ayan, simultaneously or halos sabay sila na-activate. So kumbaga, they run in parallel. Kaya nga siya parallel inhibition excitation. So what happens here is, for example, meron tayong soldier in war. Okay, so nasa gitna siya ng battlefield, no? Sigera siya. And then, unfortunately, let's say natamaan siya ng projectile or shrapnel sa braso. So magsisend yun ngayon ng pain signals. Pero, since meron tayong stress factor in the environment present, which is yung war nga, nasa gitna siya ng war, okay, ma-activate ngayon yung PAG, as mentioned kanina, di ba? And then, magdodominate yung, sorry, ang daming sulat. Magdodominate yung inhibitory signaling pathway compared to the excitatory. Kaya ang nangyayari is, nasusuppress yung pain temporarily lang. And then, the soldier is able to fight more o kaya they can escape to safety. Okay? Now, let's say naka-retreat na siya sa camp safely. Yung immediate life-threatening stress or, immediate life-threatening stress niya madi-decrease and then yung sympathetic drive niya madi-decrease din from the stress. And then ngayon, yung endogenous opioid release will also decrease. Basically, yung descending inhibition mag-weaken. Kaya ngayon, mag-i-increase naman yung sensitivity ng nociceptive signals or ma-overpower naman ng excitatory neurons yung inhibitory. And ngayon, may experience na ng soldier, mapapansin na niya yung pain from his injury before. So, this specific example is also called your stress-induced analgesia. So, it functions to regulate the intensity of pain perception para ma-maintain yung neural homeostasis na instead of parang in-on or in-off lang niya yung pain, it is more dynamic and flexible. So, it allows your body to prioritize, to filter, and to adapt depende sa context of pain. Ayan, so I specifically use the example of the soldier para ma-highlight yung biological purpose ng pain, kaya hindi siya nag-a-adapt is mainly for survival and hindi lang for comfort. So that's how your analgesia works. Thank you po for listening.
Okay, very good. Meron pa bang questions? May questions ba? Kasama daw ba pain from heartbreak? Meron, di ba? Merong, I think may mga studies, di ba? Emotional stress can also manifest as physical pain. Okay. Actually, wala na rin akong matanong. I believe we've discussed it very well. So, okay, thank you. No, so we appreciate the analgesic system. No, appreciate the analgesia system is, as we said, and as was discussed in the figure review, the pain sensation is non-adapting for the purposes of survival. No, kailangan aware tayo na merong may damage to a part of our body. Diba? And so hindi siya pwedeng basta-basta lang i-ignore. But fortunately, we have the analgesia system which can help us still regulate those pain sensations. Okay? Ano yung pinost ni Dr. Tan?
Wala, mic drop lang.
Ano? Okay. Yeah. So we have an analgesia system. So tingnan natin dito din sa formative activity which are true of the mechanisms for analgesia. So enkephalin and endorphins can block the transmission of pain signals. Diba? Those are the endogenous opioids. So when they are secreted, they can block pain signals. Ascending signals start from the periaqueductal drain, periventricular areas. No? So that is the start of your analgesia system. And then gate control analgesia is due to lateral inhibition from tactile sensory nerves. So that is also true, diba? So we have also this phenomenon of gate control, where if you have painful stimuli from one area, ay kung may nagsabay, no, painful stimuli and also non-painful stimulus from the same area, the non-painful stimulus will suppress the transmission of the painful stimulus. No? So, believe napapansin natin yun again in everyday life. Pag yun nga, may injury ka, but you start to massage that injury or you pay attention, no, hawak-hawakan mo yung part na injured, nababawasan yung pain. Di ba? Pero as soon as you maybe stop touching or paying attention to that injured area, yun, sasakit na naman siya. Then you touch it, so mababawasan yung pain. Okay? So it makes sense naman kasi the point of pain is to bring your attention to an injured area. So pag nabibigyan mo na ng attention, you're already trying to do something to resolve that painful stimulus, nababawasan din yung pain, no? Because of this gate control system caused by lateral inhibition from the from the tactile fiber inhibiting the pain fiber beside it. Okay, so we mentioned the endogenous opioids being released by the analgesia system. So we know opium, no, morphine, diba? They're very famous for being for blocking pain, no? Painkiller sila. Bakit effective yung morphine? Bakit effective yung opium? Because they're chemically similar to our own opioids, no? So endogenous opioids, endogenous meaning it's produced by your own body, no? So meron tayong sariling gawa na morphine, no? Our body produces its own morphine, no? That's what we call the endorphin, no? Endogenous na morphine. Okay, and it's very important for blocking pain sensations. Any questions? Any questions about the analgesia system? Any questions? No questions? Okay. So we also discussed here in the lecture some different kinds of pain then, different types of pain, different terminologies we use to refer to different kinds of pain. You have referred pain, parietal pain, visceral pain, ano ba yun? So it's clinically important for you to be able to distinguish between those kinds of pain. So like parietal pain and visceral pain. Parietal pain refers to pain sa mga lining, no? The lining of your organs, the lining of the body cavities, no? Yung mga peritoneum, pericardium, na mga lining, the surfaces. Okay, that's parietal pain. Doon nanggaling yung pain. So those linings are typically extensively innervated. So when that part is damaged or is injured, you can experience a sharp, well-localized pain. No? So fast pain siya. Okay, ang parietal pain is fast pain, so it's well-localized. No? While visceral pain is slow pain. No? It's more diffuse. No? It's pain from the organ itself, from an internal organ itself. And usually, mga internal organs, wala siya masyadong pain fibers. No? You don't have much pain receptors in most of your internal organs. So usually, nandun siya sa mga lining, sa peritoneum, no? Mga lining, pericardium, pleura. Okay, but in the organ itself, wala masyado. So if the pain is from the organ itself, it will be more diffuse and poorly localized. No? It can cause referred pain, which we'll also mention. Okay. So clinically, you will see pag parietal pain, the patient prefers staying still kasi nga if the patient moves, gagalaw yung lining or may uuntog dun sa mga linings ng organs, no? So masakit. So patient prefers staying still. Well, visceral pain, because it's diffuse, it's vague, hindi alam ng patient kung saan exactly nanggagaling yung pain, magiging siyang restless. Okay? Magiging siyang restless. No? Hindi niya alam kung paano siya hihiga para mawala yung pain. No? So that's your visceral pain. While your referred pain is pain felt in a distant area. No? Itong part yung masakit pero nandun yung pain. I mean, itong part yung injured pero nandun yung pain. somewhere else in the body. Okay, so yeah, so we have some illustrations here showing the typical referred pain, no, areas of referred pain. Okay, siguro very critical, no, like the pain of a heart attack pwedeng referred to shoulder and arm. Huh? Ito. Okay, so if you suspect a heart attack tapos yan meron siyang pain radiating, no, sa shoulder, sa arm, so yung warning sign yun, no? Baka heart attack. So those are areas of referred pain. So let's answer the formative. Diffuse poorly localized pain caused by damage to internal organs, that's visceral pain. Pain felt in an area distant from the location of the stimulus, that's referred pain. Then sharp localized pain caused by inflamed peritoneum, that's parietal pain. Okay. So any questions? Any questions about pain before we go to temperature? No questions? No questions? Okay, so going to temperature. So temperature sense is also going through the anterolateral system. So we have different kinds of receptors for temperature. So we have cold, warm receptors. They respond to certain ranges of temperature. Okay, and we also have yung pain receptors, no, related to the temperature for extremes of heat or cold. Okay, so for heat, pain triggered at greater than 45 degrees, then cold pain triggered at less than 15 degrees. And so we have also some of those thermoreceptors can be triggered by chemicals. Okay, that's why some chemicals parang it also elicit a temperature sensation, no? Like camphor, menthol, di ba? Cooling. Or ito menthol cooling, ito camphor pwedeng mainit, no? Sa mga effervescent oil, di ba? Yan nandun. So it can have a warm sensation, can have a cooling sensation. Siyempre ito capsaicin from your chili peppers, mainit siya. So because it triggers also those thermoreceptors. Okay, and then relatively konti lang yung thermoreceptors. So spatial summation is very important for the rapid detection of temperature. And then there's adaptation, of course, as in every sense, but your thermoreceptors, they do not adapt completely. No, they do not adapt completely. That's why even though you feel you get used to the temperature, say, of a room or wherever you are, you get used to the temperature, you still have an idea whether the room is cold or hot. Diba? Alam mo pa rin, nasanay ka na sa temperature, but you still know, parang medyo mainit na. Even though hindi ka naman masyadong pinapawisan since you got used to it. But you still know whether or not it's cold or hot, no? Okay. Yan, sige. So let's answer the formative activity. Temperature receptors are completely adapting. Hindi, no? They do not adapt completely. Spatial summation has a minimal effect. Oh, hindi. True pala. So, not true itong una. Spatial summation has a minimal effect. Hindi rin true, no? Because spatial summation is important for the rapid detection of temperature. There are more cold than warmth. That is true. And then cold and warmth are detected by different types of thermoreceptors. That is also true. Okay. So now let's go to temperature regulation. No? Temperature regulation. So we have, so very important to ngayon, summer, di ba? So baka mamaya biglang ma-recruit kayo na maging tumulong sa first aid ng mga sports activities this summer. So it's important for you to know yung things to watch out for mga heat stroke. Okay. So, yeah, how is body temperature regulated? So it's a balance of heat production or heat gain and heat loss, no? So from physics, alam natin we have several mechanisms of heat transfer, no? Conduction, convection, radiation, and also because we sweat, evaporation is also important, no? So conduction is heat transfer through direct contact. Humawak ka ng something na mainit, so that's conduction. Convection is heat transfer through the movement of a fluid, whether air or water. No, nasa harap ka ng electric fan, the flow of air from the electric fan is cooling you down, no? So that's convection. Or pwedeng baliktad. Mainit kasi masyado. So kahit inon mo yung electric fan, mainit pa rin yung buga ng electric fan. So nagkaroon ka ng heat gain through that convection. No? Pwede rin naman, depending on the ambient temperature. Then radiation is the infrared radiation emitted by anything with a temperature. No? So anything with a temperature will emit infrared radiation, so it can transfer heat that way. Very example, the most common example, syempre, is the sun. No? The sun radiates heat towards the earth, and that's how it transfers heat to us. Okay? And yung evaporation, which is the evaporation where we can lose heat through the evaporation of water, of sweat, through our skin. Okay. So let's answer the questions here. So which one allows for heat loss even at high ambient temperatures? No? So that is a very important role of evaporation, okay, of sweating. So only sweating, only evaporation will allow for heat loss at high ambient temperatures. Okay? Only evaporation allows for heat loss at high ambient temperatures. No? So imagine this setting, pero mainit. Mainit yung buong environment mo, mainit. No? Nasa labas ka, tanghaling tapat, walang hangin. Okay? Walang hangin, walang shade. So mainit lahat na nasa paligid mo. So if the ambient temperature is high, so syempre can you lose heat through conduction? Hindi, kasi lahat nga ng nasa paligid mo, anong hawakan mo, upuan mo, mainit. Na? Can you lose heat through convection? Kung mainit talaga, kahit na humangin man, ano pa rin, mainit pa rin yung hangin. So it will still transfer heat to you. And yun nga, mainit yung environment, so the hot objects around you, the sun above you transfers heat to your body. So the only way you can lose heat is through the evaporation of sweat in that scenario. Okay? Caused by direct contact with a substance with a different temperature. So direct contact, that is conduction. Due to the flow of blood and the flow of air, that is convection. No? So the flow of blood throughout our body is also how our body regulates our internal temperature. Nababalance niya yung temperature ng core. So the temperature ng ating shell, no, which is the more external part of the body. No? So that's the shell, and the core is yung sa temperature ng internal organs and the brain. No? So it's the flow of blood that balances that body temperature. And then due to infrared light transmitted by all objects with a temperature, that is your radiation. Okay. So given the importance of your evaporation, it is not very useful if humidity is high. Okay? So yung deadly combination nga for heat illnesses is if the ambient temperature is high combined with high humidity. No? If the ambient temperature is high combined with high humidity, parang wala ka ng paraan to lose heat. Okay? Kasi even evaporation that can help you lose heat in high ambient temperatures, hindi na siya ganun ka-effective pag mataas ang humidity. Okay? Kasi yung sweat, hindi na mabilis mag-evaporate if the humidity is high. Okay? Any questions? Questions about the mechanisms of heat transfer? No? So water is a good conductor of heat. Okay, that's why immersing in cool water can help you cool down quickly. And then let's look at the components of thermoregulation. So for thermoregulation, we have thermoreceptors, integration, and the effector organs. So thermoreceptors, we've discussed this before, diba? You have heat and cold thermoreceptors. And they will send signals to the brain. Ano ba yung integration center natin? The integration center is the hypothalamus. Okay? So hypothalamus sets the temperature set point. The hypothalamus sets the target temperature. Okay? It decides on the temperature set point. Hypothalamus will decide, ito yung gusto nating body temperature. No? Mag-decide siya, ito yung gusto nating body temperature. Kanyari, mag-decide siya, gusto ko yung body 37.2 degrees. Okay? And then, susunod na yung effector. The effectors will then try to implement that set point. No? Implement that set point. So, higher motor centers, ano to? No? Anong role ng higher motor centers sa thermoregulation? It's part of the effector. Nag-decide si hypothalamus, gusto ko 37.2 degrees ang katawan. No? What can help you reach that temperature? Kung kunyari, 36.5 degrees yung current temperature mo, pero for whatever reason, nag-decide sa hypothalamus, gusto niya 37 degrees. So you will now start to feel cold and you will try to make yourself warm. No? You will maybe find some ways na you feel na parang malamig ako, so you want to drink something hot, you want to wear something warm, no? So yun, the higher motor centers can help you reach the target temperature. Skin vasculature, so anong effect ng temperature on the skin, di ba? The blood vessels on the skin can help you give off more heat to the environment, no? So pag nag-dilate yung blood vessels on the skin, so more blood flow on the skin, more heat loss through the skin. Or pag malamig naman, you have constriction of the skin vasculature to help you conserve heat. No? So they're also part of the effector. Yan. Temperature set point is the integration center, the hypothalamus. Shivering muscles also effector. No? So those will help you reach whatever target temperature the hypothalamus sets. Okay, may questions ba on the role of the hypothalamus and the effectors? Malinaw ba yon? No? So emphasize here, behavioral control of temperature. No? So that's what I'm referring to dito, higher motor centers. Behavioral control of temperature is the most effective temperature regulation mechanism. And what do we mean by that? Behavioral control, yun nga, you find some ways to keep yourself warm or cold. No? Iinom ka ng malamig na tubig, gusto mong maligo, malamig na shower or mainit na shower, mag-on ka ng aircon, ng electric fan. No? So those are behavioral mechanisms that help you regulate temperature. Questions dito? Questions? Questions? And then very important also that you can distinguish between hyperthermia and fever. Now you can distinguish between heat illnesses and fever. Okay, so what is hyperthermia versus what is fever? Anong pareho sa kanila? Pareho silang mataas ang temperature. Diba? Pareho silang mataas ang temperature. But what's the difference between the two? In fever, your temperature is high because your hypothalamus wants it to be high. Okay? That's the key difference. No? Fever is elevated temperature due to an elevated set point. Sabi ni hypothalamus, gusto ko mainit yung katawan mo. Kaya uminit yung katawan mo. No? But for hyperthermia, your temperature is high because you're not losing enough heat. No? Your heat production or heat gain is greater than your heat loss. And so your body temperature increases. Okay? Gusto ng hypothalamus that you cool down pero hindi mo magawa for whatever reason. Okay? So that's hyperthermia. Your temperature is high because your heat gain, heat production is much greater than your heat loss. No? Your heat loss cannot keep up with your heat gain and heat production. And usual cause nito, you are active, no? So you're producing heat. The ambient temperature is high and it's high humidity, so you're not losing heat through evaporation. Okay? So I'm sure may nabasa kayong balita, especially pag summer, no? Meron mga athlete, no? Kawawa minsan, no? Mga bata, no? Meron silang basketball game, pero mainit, high humidity, no? Nahi-heat stroke, kawawa. Okay? So, yun yung usual combination. There's an activity, okay? Mga fun run, no? Fun run. Tapos, mainit, high humidity. So, merong nagkakaroon ng heat illness. Okay? So, if your temperature goes too high, of course, it can affect your brain, no? Because high temperatures can denature proteins. So, meron kang diffuse damage to the proteins in your body. So, maraming pwedeng effect on the body. Okay? Yan. So, we have a spectrum of heat illnesses from mild to the most severe heat stroke na, no? Meron ng altered mental state. Okay, so first aid for heat illnesses is you very quickly cool down the body. Now, we mentioned that water is very effective at conducting heat, no? So, gamitin mo yung tubig. Okay? Kung may ice bath, ilubog mo sa bathtub na merong ice. No? So, quickly cool down the body. Kung wala kang ganon, you can basain mo yung clothes. No? And tapat mo sa fan so that more evaporation will happen. Okay? And you can put ice packs on the major blood vessels. No? Lagay ka ng ice pack dito sa leeg, no? To warm up the blood going to the brain, no? Dito din sa axilla, sa groin, no? So there you have the major vessels, diba? Major vessels na medyo mababaw. So you can place ice packs there to quickly cool down the core temperature. Okay, so that's their treatment for hyperthermia. Paano kung fever? Pag fever, you use the medications for fever. No? So we have, diba, yun ang common. Ano usually iniinom nyo pag may lagnat kayo? Iniinom nyo, paracetamol, diba? So that is a common, one of the common medicines for fever. So what will paracetamol do? Paracetamol will help lower the set point. Okay? It will help lower the set point. So this is the typical course of your fever. I'm sure we've all experienced this, diba? So the hypothalamus will decide na gusto niyang painitin yung katawan. Maybe because of an infection, no? So it wants to increase the temperature in order to help kill the infection, kill the bacteria or viruses infecting the body, no? So tumaas yung body temperature mo. So that elevation of the set point, set point is suddenly raised, and that's why you feel cold. Because your hypothalamus says, gusto ko mainit ka, you will now feel cold. And so because you feel cold, you will now try to do something to become warm. No? Feeling mo giniginaw ka, so papatayin mo yung aircon. Kuha ka ng blanket, no? Tatawag sa blanket. Inom ka ng mainit. Okay, and then you might also shiver involuntarily. So all of those will increase your body temperature until such time na nag-decide na yung hypothalamus, sige, babaan na natin yung temperature. It will now decide to lower the temperature, and so suddenly, bigla ka magpapawis. Okay? In order to lose that or to decrease your body temperature again. Okay, so that's the flush or the crisis phase. Okay, so now let's go to the questions. Which ones apply to hyperthermia? So flush results after the flush phase. Yung merong flush phase is fever, not hyperthermia. Treated by using an ice bath, so that is hyperthermia. Temperature set point is high, that is fever. Treated by giving paracetamol, that is also fever. Okay? Sige. So, any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Meron ba? May questions? Sabi ni Dr. Jacinto, merong ganyang case sa pit. Sa The Pit. Maganda yung The Pit. Panoorin niyo siya. Maraming matututunan. Dr. Jacinto, mag-feedback na ba? Or mamaya na? Mag-feedback na tayo? Okay. Sige, so I'll stop share. So, feedback muna.
Okay. Sige, wait lang. Post ko lang yung scores and questionnaire sa Canvas. Ay, sa Canvas. Sa Zipgrade, sorry. Ayan. So, please check if you can, sa student portal, if you can see your scores. Ayan. Okay, so highest is 92. Diba? Oh, galing. Okay lang. Wait lang okay, sige. So, ito na yung share ko, yung with answers para mabilis. So, for this one, if you have questions, kindly take note. And then, kasi
Recording stopped.
not all lecturers are here yata. So, take note nyo na lang, and then if you have, we'll answer or put it sa Google Classroom na lang. Okay, so MPL for